You're watching Leafs Morning Take with host Nick Alberga and former NHLer Jay Rosehill. The show starts now.
Away we go for the Thursday edition of Leafs Morning Take. It is Nick Alberga and Jay Rosehill ahead of Game 6, Round 1, Leafs Bruins. We haven't seen this before.
This is new, and I'm live on location because, you know, the only thing more important than Game 6 in the Stanley Cup playoffs is a 7-year-old spring hockey.
Wherever you are, the decor in that hotel is very, like, funeral home vibe. That's the feel I get. But hopefully it's not about a Leafs funeral.
Well, I'm not complaining. I've been aching to hotel rooms with cinder blocks for walls, so this will do just fine.
Well, I'm sure you got some fantastic stories from your days even playing, but I wanted to get this off the top because we have Jake Allen coming up in about 5 minutes here. The whole Rod Brind'Amour situation is fascinating to me. I mean, we're not shutting the door on this Maple Leaf season just yet, but I tell you, if Rod Brind'Amour, there's a potential this guy could be out there in terms of coaches. I wonder if Toronto would be interested.
Where did they get again? I know it seems like they're scrambling, and it's just such a weird time of year to be like arguing over a coach's contract when he's literally just like heading into the second round. Like, you had all this other time, and it just seems like they thought the Leafs were on their way out, and then all in a matter of days could X happen, Y happen. I don't know. It seems odd to me, kind of annoying, and a distraction without a doubt for those players on, you know, especially for Carolina. But that's the business, baby. I don't know. He's probably fit.
I don't know. This comes down to Carolina just being so cheap. Absolutely so cheap. Just pay the guy. Like he is the number one coach, top two coach, we'll say, alongside John Cooper in the league. He's proved his worth year after year. Carolina is a juggernaut. Pay the guy. And I think if I'm Rod Brind'Amour and they don't pay me, I'm taking the entire staff, including the team cook and the team chef. Like it's become utterly ridiculous where Carolina 20 years ago was known as the cheap team. Why are they still known as the cheap team in 2024? That's my question.
Yeah, they've kind of always had that reputation, man, and they've done well, and their building is fairly full. I don't understand where, maybe just a cheap owner, I'm not sure, but I don't know if they're willing to say. Plus, you get in a pissing match. You know, Brind'Amour seems like a really strong personality. I don't know what he's asking for. I don't know what the number is for, you know, a solid coach. But, you know, as soon as, you know, an NHL owner, you know, damn near billionaire almost all the time, I'm sure he's got an ego too. And when they start going at it, if one guy pisses the other guy off, it just becomes an FU match, and, you know, people can get their backs up. So who knows what'll happen? But again, seems like a weird time of year to be in that zone.
I love conspiracy theories. I think it's very, very coincidental that the Maple Leafs are a team on the brink. There's a lot of other teams who need a new head coach. There's a layover between series here between Carolina as they get set to take on the New York Rangers, and Rod Brind'Amour is one of the best in the league. And suddenly this news surfaces on the eve of all that. And I think there's a method to that madness, and we'll see over the next couple of days if suddenly there's a resolution to this whole process with Carolina and Rod Brind'Amour. Buckle up for the daily Faceoff Playoff Parlay Challenge. Each game day, answer 4 questions. Pick the winning team, guess if points will be over or under, predict the first goal, and choose the highest scoring period. Gift cards will be up for grabs for daily winners, and each round champion will pocket some hard-earned cash. Play today at games.dailyfaceoff.com. The playoffs are here. We're ready to bleed blue, Rosie. Nation Gear is ready to gear you up for Toronto's playoff run. Rep your favorite team as they battle for the cup. Shop the exclusive Bleed Blue playoff tee and more at nationgear.ca. As mentioned, Jake Allen's coming up in about a couple minutes. Matt Larkin of Daily Faceoff for a scene setter. Most importantly, how are you feeling here on game day?
Pretty good, man. Pretty excited. You know, you got to get it done at home, and they put the blueprint out in Game 5 for what it looks like, man. I thought they just dominated. They deserve to win by a lot bigger margin than that. You got to bury on your chances. Bury on the power play. Like, if there's a time for the power play to break out and get 2, it is tonight. But at the end of the day, I can live with the result no matter what it is if they put up the effort that they did. And there's a reason things become cliche, and there's a reason that coaches try not to say the same phrases over and over again. But the reason is because they're what's needed to get 20 guys on the same page to create chemistry, to translate that to a hockey rink, and it's the same formula every time. And if this group is a slow learner, which it appears to be, hopefully they learn something in game 5, that is the formula right there, and it is nothing short of balls out effort from every line on every shift, and that's what gets it done. So they made it happen last time when it was do or die. Same position right now, got to do it again.
Rodolfo Claren writes in, greetings from Chile. Leafs got a win today. It's life or death. At the Leafs Nation 401 here on YouTube. Hit that subscribe button. Hit that like button. Leafs Morning Take wherever you find your podcasts. And don't forget to visit theleafsnation.com for the very latest. The opening segment is brought to you by Greta Bar YYZ. For a good time, find Greta, 590 King Street West. Weekly specials, live sports, over 60-plus arcade games. Let the games begin. Go big. Go to Greta Bar YYZ. As without further ado, we welcome the first of 2 guests on today's show, 2019 Stanley Cup champion, current New Jersey Devil. It is Jake Allen. What's going on, Jake? Oh, Jake, we can't hear you. Can you just try to reset it with the audio? Excuse me. So we'll get Jake Allen in mere seconds here on the show and get his thoughts on Joseph Woll. That's the big story too, right, Rosie, is the crease.
It is. I went on a show recently and they asked me an absolute zinger of a question on whether they're going to stick with Joseph Woll or go back to Samsonov, and my head almost blew up. But after performance like that, I mean, the second, especially when it didn't go his way, it didn't start his way. Letting in the second shot he faced, to overcome that and then play lights out and not let another one in for, I don't know what minute that came in. It's got to be, 50 minutes of hockey, was pretty impressive. So he should be feeling good, and he seems like he doesn't get rattled. He doesn't get too high, doesn't get too low, and he just seems like confident presence back there. And if you listen to the post-game reaction, we talked about it yesterday, all the players seem to not just feel that, but they're verbalizing it to the media. So when they're doing that in Toronto, that it's something that they feel strongly about, and they like him back there.
I believe we do have Jake now. Jake, can you hear us?
He cannot.
He cannot hear us. Okay. We'll try one more time here with Jake and try to connect with Jake Allen of the New Jersey Devils, get his thoughts on the crease and the entire situation surrounding Joseph Woll. Obviously, when you look at the Boston Bruins, it'd be very fascinating to see what they do in between the pipes. But yeah, I love how calm he is. I think the team sort of plays that way too, but just getting those saves is just so important this time of year as well, Rosie.
Well, yeah, it's the margins are razor thin, and one huge save can be the difference, and one weak goal can be the difference. We've seen it a lot. And, when you add up, goaltending that starts with an 8 save percentage mixed in with a power play that I don't even know what that percentage is, or if it's a fraction or a decimal, it's the difference in the games. And, it's something that can overcome like something like the power play not going well and being poor and not being able to get a ton of points on the board. If you can get that goaltending, you're still in the game. So it's the most important piece of the puzzle, if you ask me. Every single time, we mentioned it again yesterday, Stanley Cup winner is crowned. Their goalie is up for the Conn Smythe Trophy. So it's nice to see Woll find his form, because we weren't sure who had what down the stretch leading into the playoffs.
It certainly has been a roller coaster. I do believe we have Jake Allen. Jake, do we have you?
I hate technology so much.
Fuck, man. This is, it's, we'll try our best here to figure this out on the fly. But certainly, I think when you look at this Maple Leafs team and you look at Game 6 specifically, the other big story, Rosie, is going to be home ice, right? They haven't won a playoff game in 6 straight at Scotiabank Arena. I think you look specifically at the offense, it is just dying. It's starving. 12 straight playoff outings, they've yet to score more than 3 goals. Like, that's insane to me, considering you look at this team, how many goals they score year after year in the regular season.
And what is that, man? Weren't they second in scoring in the NHL regular season long? That's what they hang their hat on. That is what is so explosive and impressive about this team. The Austin Matthews, the Mitch Marner, the Nylanders, and all the supporting cast, and the Morgan Riley. And it's like every year they're struggling to score. And everyone who doesn't pay as close attention as us says, oh, they need a goalie and oh, they got to shore up their D, which is not necessarily wrong. But if you look at their track record, not just this year, not just a couple years, like for years and years and years in this era, they can't score any goals. And that's their MO, that's their identity. So it's a major head scratcher. It is sickeningly frustrating for Leafs Nation and probably for everyone around their organization. But is the stage too big? Are they overwhelmed? Are they gripping their sticks? Are they trying too hard? Are they too patient with the puck? Are they looking for the perfect play? Like, what is going on to be a not just like like a premier goal scoring hockey team and then be a bottom feeder scoring hockey team when it matters the most? It is the story of this era.
Jake, third time's a charm. Do we have you?
Can you hear me?
Oh, yes.
There you go.
Yes, Jake. Sorry about that, man. Thank you so much for joining us today. If you'd love to piggyback off that conversation, we're just talking about Joseph Woll. What did you make of his Game 5 performance?
Yeah, I was impressed. Not an easy spot to go with. For him, I think last year's experience of being sort of thrown into that situation obviously helped. I think the thing that I respected about the game was he didn't try to do too much. Sometimes you go into that position like, hey, you want to do so much in the team, you win the game, put the team on your back. He just played his game. I've played against him recently, and he was solid there. He made big saves when he needed to, and really happy for success.
Jake, with a stage like that, with a guy that's not all that experienced, what do you see in him as far as composure? And I mean, I believe not getting too high, not getting too low is huge in that position. When you watch him play, does he come off as a guy that's in the right mindset for that moment?
Yeah, I think so. Just what I heard about him, I don't know at all. He's the same age. Yeah, no, played with, skated with St. Louis, and he's just down to calm, collected guy. Everything. I think it really reiterates the point. Step in. TD Garden is not an easy place to play. It's a cautious place to play. He out did his thing. Again, he did be someone not, and that I think sometimes in the playoffs people try to be someone not, and that got to where they got to be through his career. He just did his job, and the guys there wasn't high scoring the full game. Got the job. Or them.
Hey, Jake, just gonna have to step in. We're having some, I guess, Wi-Fi or tech issues. I apologize if you want to try one more time. It's really spotty on your end. We can't really make out what you're saying. But if you want to try one more time, by all means, man. Sorry about this. We'll try to figure this out behind the scenes. Sorry about that.
No problem.
But again, looking to see if we can reconnect here with Jake Allen. I love his insight. Love what he did with Sportsnet and just breaking down sort of the minutia behind the crease situation and the goaltending. And you look at Joseph Woll and the respect he is garnering around the league is pretty something right now, Rosie.
I know it sucks because Jake Allen's a big name and he's in it right now and he's in the thick of things on the media side. It's very rare you get to pick a guy's brain that's straddling both sides of the hockey world. So unfortunate, but technology does not always cooperate, as I think anyone who deals with it knows. But yeah, man, he's the story, and I don't want to make him too big of a story. I don't want, him to, he's human. It's hard, especially as a goaltender. Every time a puck comes to you, as the clock ticks, and if you got a 1-goal lead, every shot, I could imagine a goaltender, holy shit, you know what I mean? And it's hard to avoid that. And I'm sure they have all kinds of mental techniques and visionary things and stuff to avoid going to that place of and keeping your confidence and being loose and not letting every shot and moment and period and rush get to your head. But it's a big deal in the big spotlight. And I don't know if going back to Toronto is going to help him or hurt him, but they certainly haven't played their best in front of him in that barn. So no better time to change it than right tonight.
So just some news and notes from the morning skate. Austin Matthews is on the ice ahead of the Leafs morning skate, didn't take part in the morning skate. Sheldon Keefe declined to offer an update on Wednesday about Matthews skating on his own. I believe he skated for about 30 minutes yesterday. So I think this is going to come right back down to the wire of puck drop and the warm up until we find out anything else. But do you read much into the fact that he didn't take the morning skate?
Yeah, I do. I read that he's not playing.
Yeah.
He skated for 30 minutes yesterday because it
Yesterday,
seemed like
yeah.
about 6, but maybe we kind of weren't right on the ball with on and off.
Well,
But
2 days ago, it was 6 minutes. The game day Tuesday, but then he skated
oh,
Wednesday
sorry.
by himself.
Yeah,
Yeah.
gotcha. Well, I mean, to put in a 30-minute workload is pretty good, but I mean, I was on Twitter a fair bit yesterday, and you see in game 80, he makes a rush, and I think it's Nylander that kind of swings behind him as he's pivoting to go to glide backwards, completely has his feet taken out, and he hits the boards right at the corner of the dasher really bloody hard. And you can tell he's like, what the hell just happened? But he toughed it out and just acted like it wasn't a big deal. So I don't think many people read into it. But there's some people pointing to that right now saying, this guy's got a concussion and he played through it, whether it was to get 70 or he just didn't think it was a big deal. And as you know, with concussions, if you do have one and you continue to work out and exercise and exert yourself and get your heart rate elevated, it's not good for your brain while it's trying to heal. And it makes complete sense to me if that was the case. And he's in the playoffs going, guys, docs, I'm feeling more and more messed up every day, and they're going, Jesus, like we can't risk your future and everything. Let's try to get you to the point where you're symptom free. What do we tell the media? Let's just say it's an illness or a bug, because if you can go in game 6 or 7, the Bruins are going to be running you through the freaking building knowing you have a concussion. So I could understand that being the process, and it makes sense on why he'd go out and do little workouts and get his blood going a little bit, and then you get off and see what kind of symptoms you have. And if he is doing the concussion tests and stuff and not really doing well with them, if he's getting little blotches in his vision when he gets off of his workout, that's obviously not good. If he can't look at bright lights, if he has headaches, then you just can't play, man. They're not dicking around with brains anymore, especially with a guy of the talent level and future potential as Austin Matthews. So that makes sense to me on what's happening. I'm not breaking that news that that's what's happening, but as I'm scratching my head saying, what the hell is going on with all this BS ring-a-roll, run around? No one's given any kind of solid information. If you put those pieces together, it makes complete sense. And I'm leaning towards something like that being the case here.
Yeah, it really is unfortunate because we went through everything with the Nylander situation in the first 3 games, and now it's like Austin Matthews is the big story, and it's like, what's going on with him? And they're being very mum and quiet as to what's transpiring. First, it was an illness. It sounds like he's got over the illness. Maybe it was food poisoning. Now it sounds like an injury, but we're not going to get much transparency. I mean, it is what it is at this point in time, and I think the Leafs proved in Game 5 they're capable of winning without this guy, and it looks like they're going to have to do it again. I mentioned the numbers, 36, 19, and 2 all time. Well, when Austin Matthews is unavailable, 2-0 this season. So you got to bear down, do it again. I expect a very fired up Boston Bruins team. I don't know if you caught Jim Montgomery specifically yesterday, very critical of his team, said he's going to be pissed off until puck drop here of game 6. Pretty much essentially said his team no-showed in game 5. And I can tell you, just reading the tea leaves in the Boston market the last 48 hours, they are pissed. But good on Toronto, man. They stepped up to the plate. They're going to have to do it again tonight on home ice.
It's interesting, man. Like what path do you take it if you're a coach at that point in time? You know what happened last year, which was just grossly disappointing, right? To have one of the you think you're going to walk to the finals and you blow it in the first round. So that's on your mind, no question. If that happens twice, holy smokes, right? And I don't even think that they no-showed. I just think that's how well the Leafs played against them. I think they poured it on them and they just forced the Bruins onto their heels. And they did it with nothing more than pure and simple effort and intensity and passion and desperation. And that's how they played to a man. Mitch was doing that. Willie was doing that. Every line was doing that, man. The D-men were doing that. Hitting, pinching, being solid, being smart, not taking unnecessary risks, just flat out playing the best 60 minutes they possibly could. And like I said, they deserve to win by a bigger margin in my mind. But I just didn't think the Bruins had an answer for it. I expect them to be more ready and pour the cup and just unload the whole thing right off the bat and try to set the tone and try to get the momentum right away. But getting chewed out by your coach, knowing that everyone's pissed off, Marchand did not look like himself whatsoever. I mean, if they don't get that good start, geez, man. I mean, every 5-minute segment of a period that ticks by, more and more doubt and frustration creeps in for the Boston Bruins, be it that they had a 3-1 lead. And I just think that tonight it's so important, not 100% necessary, but so important for the Leafs to get the first goal, man, like they did in game 5. And just start planting seeds of doubt in the Boston Bruins and chipping away and just playing as many minutes as possible with the momentum.
So once again, our apologies if you're just tuning in and are expecting to hear from Jake Allen. We tried our best. There was a Wi-Fi issue. He had a small pocket about 10, 15 minutes here in the morning to do this, unable to connect with him. So we apologize on that front, maybe down the road. As mentioned, I thought he did some great stuff with Sportsnet and was looking forward to his insight specifically on Woll, maybe the comparable and the comparison to a Carey Price, and also looking at Boston's crease moving forward in this series. So we'll try again down the road with Jake Allen. Appreciative of him taking some time and trying to figure this out with us, but we couldn't do it, so it's unfortunate. It takes hard work and determination to bring home the cup. Luckily, all you need to do to bring home Wendy's rewards points is eat. Just download the Wendy's app, place your favorite order, and you'll be well on the road to victory. And by victory, we mean free food. What are you waiting for? Download the Wendy's app and start earning on every order today. So the Bruins lead the series 3-2. As mentioned, Toronto has lost 6 in a row at Scotiabank Arena in the postseason, outscored 21-11. They've dropped 7 of 8, in fact, in the postseason at Scotiabank. They've scored 3 goals or less in 12 straight playoff outings. But, Rosie, to me, I couldn't agree more. First goal, massive. I know it's cliche to say that, but it certainly is in this series. And the other thing, you got to get a power play goal. I know we've been hitting this the last couple games. Been 1 for 17 on the power play in this series. It's crazy to me.
It's so crazy. You could understand maybe a little bit of a slump in, a couple parts of a game or two, but 1 for 17 is absolutely abysmal for any team in the playoffs, let alone, like I said, the one that's scoring at one of the highest clips of any team in the NHL. And it's what makes you good. It's what makes other teams kind of fear playing against you or pay attention to, is your offensive ability to score, especially on the power play. And with all those weapons, the fact that they can't, when it's not like they can't, they've proven they can, but they can't do it when it matters, is just mind-blowingly frustrating. And now if you can just loosen that off and get that monkey off their back, now's the time to do it, because there's a good chance if they don't, their season's over. So you got to figure it out. And I really don't think it's anything reinventing the wheel or coming up with a new fancy trick play or any bullshit. It's get pucks to the net, get bodies to the net, and absolutely jump on loose pucks, keep possession, and just keep doing that till the levee breaks.
It's funny, too, like the whole narrative in Boston the last couple of days, Rosie, has been, the officials are against the Boston Bruins. It just, again, it's so funny how every fan base thinks the officials are against them, but it's also refreshing because it always seems to be the other way in the postseason. The Leafs are getting some calls and carry on. I think their discipline's been much better the last couple of games, but that's obviously something you're going to watch moving forward, not only tonight, but in the series. It's just like special teams in general. The PK hasn't been good, but I think the moral of the story, the Leafs need to stay out of the box if they're going to expect to win this series too, because Boston's power play, 6 for 14 in the series? It's crazy.
Yeah, it's you got to come out with intensity and you got to kind of come out banging, but you can't come out like maniacs losing your mind and forcing the ref to put his hand up saying, man, you guys are just like, you can't do that, right? You can't cross the line. Absolutely finish every check, stick your chest out after every whistle, form a little wall around Woll when, he freezes the puck, and, go visor to visor, nose to nose with any prick that wants to come near. All that stuff's good, but you can't be running guys late and trying to get a piece of him when he sneaks by and catching him with an elbow. Like, you just can't pray to the box because it will nip you in the butt and you will be done, and it could cost you your season. So you got to be disciplined, no question about it. But I cannot stand it when people, like, let's be honest, there's two narratives. Oh, the NHL wants the Maple Leafs to win, and Gary gives them every benefit of the doubt. And then the other narrative is, oh, they'll never let the Maple Leafs win, and they're trying to take it away because it's a big enough market that makes enough money no matter what, and they want the smaller markets to get all the money and the eyeballs and stuff. And it's just like, the answer is neither, you idiots. It's not a big conspiracy. It's neither. Sometimes a team gets the call, the benefit of the doubt. Sometimes it gets the other side of the coin, and it's the same for every team in the NHL. It's a problem, the inconsistency in officiating, if you ask me. It's a problem not knowing what a clean hit is and what's not. It's a problem knowing that was okay last period and this period it's not. No question, the consistency is. So you're going to take an inconsistent period, and one side's going to bitch about this, and the other side's going to bitch about that side. Like I said, there's two sides of the coin, and they're both wrong. Sometimes it's just the chips fall where they may. No team gets better calls than the other, and there's no agenda from the league for or against the Maple Leafs.
Yeah, the latest conspiracy is that the NHL and Gary Bettman won a Game 7 on Saturday night. So look out for that tonight. But I'll take it.
Hey, I want one too. So if we get the calls tonight, I'm all for it. But there's just, Gary's not making a phone call to the referee saying, hey, take it easy on the Leafs with the whistle tonight. That just doesn't happen, man. And
No.
I don't know why, I guess the conspiracy things, I'm all for a couple of those. We almost talked about the moon landing on Department of Discipline, but it's just not the way it is. You play hard, you try to get your calls, and you play through everything, and the refs end up respecting that rather than diving around. There was an embellishment call last night in the game, which is pretty cool to see, and refs hate that shit. So play hard, keep your feet moving, and the calls will come.
Win or loss, Zach Phillips will have you covered on the Leafs Nation After Dark. Don't forget to tune into that. I am the scheduled guest. Important to stress scheduled because we did this last time. I am superstitious, but if they win or lose for that matter, you'll probably hear from Jay Rosehill as well. So stay tuned. That's a bit of a hook there. We'll get to our next interview here on the show. This interview is brought to you by Douglas. Named Canada's best mattress on Canadian living, Douglas is loved by more than 200,000 Canadians, and they're backed by over 10,000 five-star reviews. Every mattress order comes with a free comfort sleep bundle, 2 memory foam pillows with pillow protectors, 1 luxurious cotton sheet set, and 1 mattress protector. Order today at douglas.ca/LMT. That's douglas.ca/LMT. As we bring in Daily Faceoffs, Matt Larkin. What's going on, Matt?
Boys, how you doing? I'm on pins and needles. I don't know what to expect tonight. I've given up even trying to predict what way this series will break for every game.
Matt, we're going to have to reconnect with you. It's a bit laggy, so we'll try our best. It's just one of those days. This happened here with Jake Allen, so we're going to try to get through this. It's great to get Matt on, get his insight. Make sure to check out his latest on dailyfaceoff.com surrounding Joseph Woll. It's funny how one game, Rosie, can change the mindset, right? Too, when it comes to Joseph Woll, where if you recall, and you brought up the good point yesterday, Samsonov deserved the crease to start the playoffs, but this is what happens, right? What was my call going into the playoffs? I'm like, we will see Joseph Woll at some point in time, and here we are.
Yeah, it wasn't unexpected, and Sammy didn't shit the bed, and it's not a screw up on Keefe that he didn't play Woll to start the series. Like, it's so dumb when people say "told you so" after they have, the benefit of hindsight. It drives me nuts. But luckily, you found a goalie that could play a hot game when it mattered, and that was what he did in Game 5, and that's what he needs to do in Game 6. But I mean, from what we could gather from Matt Larkin there as it was chopping out, is he's done predicting. He doesn't know what's going to happen tonight, and I agree. But I do think it's going to be one of two things. They're either going to be dominant again and drop the hammer on the Bruins, or they'll no-show. And that's what they've been all year. That's what, I wouldn't say all year, but traditionally, and that's what they've been in the playoffs traditionally. So I think it's going to be one of those two things. And I don't know, I'm leaning towards them playing another good game. I just think they kind of found something there. And I think if Pappy doesn't play, for some reason, they rally around that, and everyone knows they have to elevate their game a little bit more. I could see, like, when you're trying to justify these no-show games that they have played in the past, maybe they just rely too much on a Pappy and say, oh, good, he's here. Like, let's watch him win this game. And it doesn't work that way. So nonetheless, it is tough to predict the Maple Leafs. I got like professional bettors that I talk to who are like, I don't touch the Maple Leafs. I just don't.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really, really difficult to bet on the Leafs. I believe we do have Matt back. Matt, has the pressure dynamic in this series changed in your opinion?
I think it's changed a little bit. I think it'll truly change if we get to a game 7, especially given the recent history of the Boston Bruins. They blew a 3-1 series lead last year because they hit a hot goalie after a mid-series switch. So you can see sort of the parallels between the move to Joseph Woll and Bobrovsky coming in for Alex Lyon last year. So I do see a little bit of potential. I think it's a little too soon. I still feel like the pressure is on the Leafs until they can prove they can win in their own damn building. 1-8 in their last 9 home playoff games. Come on.
Only thing good about that is they're due. They're due. What do you take about Jim Montgomery, like visibly being displeased with his team and kind of taking the road? Like, do you think that's just demanding more, or do you think that's him kind of almost panicking?
I think there is a little something to it because you have to think with Jim Montgomery, the history as the Boston Bruins coach, well, he's got the one run that involved the choke in round 1, right? So for him, there's a little bit more baggage than if it was Bruce Cassidy, a guy who had taken this team to the Stanley Cup final game 7. And even just seeing Brad Marchand early in the series, Marchand was talking about it, Montgomery was talking about it, the fact that Brad is a different player, he's settled down his game, and then all of a sudden in game 5, it's Montgomery in Marchand's ear saying, settle down. To me, that was a real sign that the Leafs have gotten to them. And that's important because to me, even with Matthews out of the lineup, I do believe the Leafs have more star power. They have more skill on their roster than Boston. If you can get 63 and 88 off their game for Boston, I don't think the rest of the lineup is that scary. I think you've seen it in this series. It's more the Leafs beating themselves at home, but I don't think the Bruins have actually been that consistently threatening offensively. So I do think that was meaningful, seeing Montgomery a little bit off kilter.
And that's a good point because Marchand, I mean, I've been singing his praises all series. I think he is a phenomenal player, phenomenal leader, phenomenal agitator, phenomenal skill guy, phenomenally clutch. And you're used to seeing him in the driver's seat with tons of swagger and a look of I don't give a rip on his face because I know what I do and I'm that guy. And the last game was the first time I saw him like with this blank look on his face. And whether they got under his skin or he just wasn't feeling it or he was uber pissed off or whatever, it was the first time I saw like a chink in the chain of Brad Marchand. And like you say, he is the absolute engine of that team right now. So it's a good sign. And I think that the Leafs need to try and keep him down and off the score sheet and off his game.
Yeah, I think you're right, Rosie. And I was thinking about this the other day in the context of the Bruins over all of Marchand's career. So he wins the Stanley Cup as a rookie, 2011. He's part of a pretty bad choke in game 6 of the 2013 final. He's part of a team that comes within 1 game in 2019, part of a team that wins 65 games and chokes it away in round 1. So suddenly you look at the context. I mean, I love Marchand as a player. I think he's an absolute first ballot Hall of Famer, but he's got the 1 ring. It came in his first year. And you have to wonder, to me, I see a little bit of that frustration of, oh my God, is this going to happen again? Are we going to lose out on another long run because of some kind of collapse? And I do think, even though there's more pressure on the Leafs than pretty much anyone at any given time, it's not like there's no pressure on Boston. It's not like this is Carolina or, a non-traditional market. The Bruins fans care and they want this team to go far and they have high expectations. So I think there is a little something there. There's some pressure on the Bruins.
I think specifically on Montgomery, like, call me crazy. They choked this series. I think he loses his job.
I think it's a fair question. You have to ask. He's gotten so much out of this team in the regular season. I think you have to factor in the personnel losses for the Bruins, right? Patrice Bergeron, David Krejci, Tyler Bertuzzi, Dmitry Orlov, Garnet Hathaway, Taylor Hall, Nick Foligno. That's just what I can remember off the top of my head. That was a massive exodus, and you still kept this team near the top of the league. So I think you got to give them a mulligan, but I can see the logic if they choke this one away. It's not a great look.
That's wild, the names you just rattled off, and that is a huge chunk of personnel to lose. And albeit they have done fantastic in the regular season, like you say, but Man, that's interesting. And I mean, if the Leafs are finally going to exercise their demons, and if they're finally going to break the floodgates open of, say, the power play, say, winning on home ice, say, winning when their back's against the wall and getting a job done against an able opponent, what better way than to pass the demons on to the Boston Bruins?
It's so true. And Rosie, I'm glad you mentioned the power play because I had some numbers I wanted to throw at you guys, some numbies for you. Okay. Um, the lowest shooting percentage in the entire NHL for the entire regular season, 82 game sample, Philadelphia Flyers 8.4%. The Leafs 3.7. So no matter how bad you think this power play is, it's less than half the worst power play shooting percentage of the entire league all season. That is impossibly unlucky. And I was looking at just where they ranked for the playoffs in terms of chances, scoring chances, high danger chances, shots. They're middle of the pack in terms of power play per 60. They've been okay. They haven't been great. They haven't been themselves, but they haven't been terrible. The puck's just not going in. And statistically, the luck they've had is impossible. Just by existing, just by going out there and breathing, they're likely eventually to see their luck turn. So that could be a major factor if they can finally see pucks start going in this series.
Tell you what, Matt, a guy who needs to step up, again, make of it what you will. He got 11 and a half sheets per season, comes back from the injury. I thought he was much better in the second game than he was the first game. But Willie Nylander, I put out an article today for the LeafsNation.com, hasn't scored in 13 games dating back to the regular season, hasn't scored a goal since March 26th. Again, I think you would just loop in Nylander with the other big boys, but this is a guy, like, especially if Austin can't play, needs to elevate. Like, you wanted that money, it's time to prove it, in my opinion.
I think it's fair. And this is, I believe, in the eyes of pretty much everybody, the Leafs' second best player. All due respect to Mitch Marner, Nylander was the second best player on the team this year, had the best season of his career. And to me, it's tough because, we always have the crazy injury reports that come out after a series is over. And I'm wondering exactly what Willie was dealing with, whether it's migraines, concussion, neck. We discussed it, of course, on the show before. But is he 100% or is he forcing himself to push through it because of the fact that Papi's out? And if he doesn't come back in the series, are we going to learn that Nylander, he was in agony for the games he did play? I have no idea. I agree. He doesn't quite look himself. I think the second half of game 5, he started to get his rhythm and look a little more confident. I like that he was shooting from weird angles. I think the Leafs need to do a lot more of that. They've had their lowest scoring chances in their 2 home games so far in the series because there's one too many puck touches. They're so delicate and they're feeling the pressure. But what I really liked was in game 5, they were just trying stuff. I called it experimental. And you saw Willie take a couple weird shots from weird angles. I was okay with that. Just try it. In the playoffs, throw it on net. That's how McCabe scored. Even Tavares' rush, he just put the shoulder down and drove to the net. But the reason why I want to single out Willie is I think that was a good sign. He was showing some confidence, just trying stuff. So I do expect to see a better version of him tonight, especially compared to the version we got in game 4.
Don't you think, Willie, would you agree with the fact that his personality, he can be aloof and he can act like he's not bothered and doesn't care by much. He can take a bunch of heat and let it roll off his back and still kind of be, give people reason maybe to pick him apart. But when the going gets hard and it's time for him to get it done, not necessarily in the playoffs, but just personally, he can have a big FU on his shoulder and just lay the hammer down. And wouldn't you think it'd be pretty fitting for him to come out tonight and put on a show?
I think so. And if you guys remember, he was the one that tied the game late to keep them alive against Florida in the last game of the season last year. And 88 in the blue and white reminds me of 89 in the blue and white. Alexander McGillney had the same attitude.
Okay. I don't know where you're going with that. Okay.
Yeah. It was sometimes mistaken for the, I don't care. But he did. He cared a lot. And he had the swagger and nothing seemed to faze him. And I still see a similarity in terms of the attitude. So I'm with you, Rosie. I think that Nylander has the right makeup mentally for this market.
Mm-hmm.
I was just concerned you were going to go on a Nick Robertson.
No way. Sorry.
Yeah.
All due respect to Nick Robertson. No, he's not Alexander McGillney.
Yeah. Oh man. I don't know how people come out of this postseason run and say, hey, I want Nick Robertson on the team. Like, they've given him so many opportunities, just can't seize the moment. I want to ask you about somebody who has seized the moment. That's Matthew Knies. Balls of steel, man. What a goal the other night. The guy's just a big game type player, but what have you made of his progression here in his rookie season?
I think it's so important. And, people might have been a little disappointed by the fact that I don't want to say flatlined. He was fine in the regular season. But people have to remember when you transition from the college game, you're playing a couple times a week, you're in the gym all the time. It's easy to recover. You're not playing as many games. For guys that play their first full 82 game schedule coming out of college, it's an adjustment. It always is, especially halfway through the season. You can hit a wall. So I wasn't too worried to see Knies just be okay. But to me, this is the time of year where his specific skill set and body are very important. I said it before, the Leafs need heavy skill. They have to have heavy that plays in the higher part of the lineup. And what Knies brought in game 5 was exactly what they need. He was hard on the puck and he was chippy between the whistles. He was getting in the head of Pasternak. I love seeing that. And to me, you have to hope that he's found something, a certain degree of swagger. And getting an overtime winner, I think it means a lot emotionally. It kind of tells you, hey, that's in an elimination game. I came through. This moment is not too big for me, and it won't be going forward. So I think that was easily the most important game Knies has played in a Leaf sweater. I know that's not exactly going out on a limb, but it was a very important development because this is a player who's in your top 6, who's actually getting a lot of minutes, and those are the guys you need to be heavy on the puck.
Yeah, I think it's a stepping stone for him for sure. And, to your point about that college stuff, like I remember leaving college and playing pro, and around that game 50 mark, you can't believe you have 30 plus games left to play. It's a worry. And one thing I'll say about Leafs Nation, the media and everything else, they left the guy alone and just like didn't like, as soon as he had like a couple of weeks where he wasn't like standing out, they didn't jump on him, expect more, and make him roll his eyes going, oh my God, I can't even take a breath. And I think you're seeing the results of that right now in the playoffs. You've allowed him to keep his confidence and take that extra step.
Yeah, that's a really good point, Rosie. I wonder if it's because if you look at the pedigree of a guy like Knies, it's not like he was a first round pick and immediately expected to make a massive impact. So maybe there's sort of a built in patience
Yeah.
with the market. And also, it's not like he was toiling with the Marlies really close, like on everyone's backyard, right? Where they could get a close look at him the way they could Nick Robertson. So I wonder if that's part of it. But I agree. I think he's been given a fair shake.
Well, Matty, we'll see what happens tonight, game 6, and we'll figure it out tomorrow as per what kind of conversation we're going to have. Appreciate your time today.
Thanks, boys. Enjoy it.
Thanks, Matt.
I love how William Rawlis writes in, Nick, shut up and let Larkin talk and say what he wants. Sounds like a big Nick Robertson guy to me. And sorry, Matt, if I interrupted you, but I didn't know where you're going with the conversation. That is Matt Larkin of Daily Faceoff. Make sure to check out his very latest right now. Has a great article up on Joseph Woll, Rosie, which, again, is the prevailing story in this series, the goaltending. And I know Boston hasn't shown their hand on who they're going to start in this game, but it has to be Swayman, no?
You would think so, man. If they go to Allmark, not that like, it's almost unfortunate that the amount of chances and pressure that the Leafs laid on them in game 5, that more didn't go in, and they got, just beat them a few more times and rolled 4 on them, 1-4-1, whatever. And then it was kind of a conversation, because it's not a conversation right now. You're staying with them. You've already kind of decided that you're not going to. I thought that was so dumb going into the playoffs, and they were like, nope, we're going to stick with switch hitting these guys. I'm like, oh, really? You're going to have like a dominant, convincing win where one of the goalies just smokes like the whole game and steals it, and then you're going to switch to the other guy? Good luck sticking to that. So I thought it was dumb of them to even say that. Now it's a conversation, but it's almost unfortunate that the chances they had, they didn't get a little bit more puck luck, get some more behind Swayman, have that more of a conversation, maybe make a change to Allmark, have everyone question it, like just more reason for the Bruins to be stirring a little bit. But I think it's a no-brainer to stick with Swayman, and I'd be shocked if we saw anything different.
Did you see that tonight is Jack Edwards' final game that he's calling? Because I guess ABC has the rights for Game 7 if it does go there on Saturday. So what better than to retire this guy with another loss? Did you see his call the other night, by the way? It was awesome, man.
I saw it, and he's
a nice score. It's like, and they like 6 seconds later, they score, and he goes on his like a little. He's so bad, man. The guy should have retired 10 years ago.
Well, he can't help himself, and the fact that it's going to be his last game, no matter what, I am just waiting and wondering what the big, dumb look at me, I'm important too call is going to be. There's going to be something that's outrageous, and I just can't wait to see when and where it happens.
Yeah, one of the best calls I think in his career is when he called Jay Rosehill, who's the host of this podcast, who's on your screen right now, a career hatchet, man. We do like to bring that back quite a bit, but you did pretty damn well in the fight with Milan Lucic.
That wasn't even his worst call by a mile. That was probably just true.
Stop
No.
defending Jack Edwards, okay? We want death. We want blood. But that's another sidebar storyline in this game. It is game 6. It's yeah, like I think the pressure, to Matt Larkin's point, has to be there when it comes to Boston. Like I think it's an unfamiliar position for that organization because they've been the closeout kings in the last 10 years, but undoubtedly there's pressure. Like this happened to them last year. They lost in game 5 in OT to a fresh goalie. And it's like, you think again, this is going to happen. And that's why I think, to your point earlier on, you score that first goal, the doubt is going to be in the minds of the Boston Bruins. But having said that, I expect, like we talked about Jim Montgomery, he was fired up yesterday in the media. Whether he feels that way or not, who knows? But I expect a very hungry Boston team in the first 10 minutes. I think the Leafs have to utilize that crowd to their advantage. Jump on them quickly. Don't give Boston time to breathe. I thought Toronto did a tremendous job of that in game 5. From the opening puck drop, they delivered some checks. They got on the forecheck. Like once you start playing and you feel more comfortable, you look more comfortable, and it becomes more free and easy. I think at times maybe they're guilty, especially at home ice, of just being too tense, trying to impress the crowd. Forget the crowd. Just play hockey. Simplify the game.
Yeah, and it's a good point you kind of brought up. Like, I think Boston's really good, and one of their strengths is being patient. And I think that their experience over there lends to that. And I noticed that when the Leafs did just try to pour the coals to them, they'd kind of accept it for a minute, but then pounce and wait for that opportunity of a defenseman pinching or, a bad positional play, and boom, they take care of that, 2-on-1, and they score first, and they suck the whole life out of a good start from the Leafs. But I don't think they have that luxury today, and I don't think that everything that's transpired in the last 48 hours is going to give them that luxury. I think they're going to come out and try to take control of the momentum and try to score first and try to put the Leafs on their heels and try to run them out of the building and try to quiet the crowd down. And, maybe that's against kind of their stay patient mentality, and maybe it works for them. Maybe it works against for them. I don't know, but I know it's going to be a battle for that momentum. And even game 1, man, the Leafs came out flying and stole the momentum and stole the offensive zone time, stole the puck possession, stole the chances, stole the shots. And the Bruins just waited, and one bad pinch and decision of trying to over body check led to a 2-on-1, and they buried. And then that was the song of, the momentum of the start of the series. And we'll see how they play it. We'll see how both sides play it. Are the Leafs going to buck the trend and finally play the solid game and be the team that deserves to win? Are they going to turn the lid upside down on the Bruins and not let them be their patient veteran team? Let them be the team that scrambles and tries too hard and grips their stick? Like, we will see, but it is a very, very intriguing game tonight. I'm very excited, and I can't wait to see what the Leafs present.
2 massive pieces of information here. Swayman's in the visitors' net for Boston. And then moments ago, Sheldon Keefe confirms no Auston Matthews. McMahon is progressing. So they went out and said Matthews is not playing already. Your thoughts?
Yeah, shitty, disappointing, more of the same, but they're used to it. They just did it. And, the one silver lining you could say is they know now, again, that they have to band together and make up for his slack and pick up the slack like they did last game. And it's not, if I had 2 options, he's good or he's not good. It's no brainer. You want one of the best players in the world on your team. But since we know he's not going, I look at it and say, you know what? These guys need to dig deep again and get that lunch pail mentality going, where you just have to outwork and, out try the other team. And with the skill that they have still on the lineup, still in the roster, if it works the way it did last game, I think they're going to be, okay. They've already proven they can do it.
Yeah, this doesn't hit as hard, I'll be frank about it, as it would have if like we had no clue what was going on. I think to your point, the fact that he didn't take the morning skater before told us everything we needed to know. So that's the very latest. Austin Matthews will not play here in game 6. It's a tough loss, but I like the fact that they've already proven that they can win without Matthews. Not only in the regular season, they beat the wheels off of Pittsburgh 7-0, but now to do that in game 5 on the road, I think anything's possible, man. You got to bear down, dig deep. There's so many prime examples in pro sports of teams elevating when they're missing a star. Just got to do it again here in game 6.
Yeah, it's that adversity and pressure. It leads to good things. Sometimes it gets the best out of not just players, but a group of players. So, like you say, they've done it before. It's something to rally around. Their record, for whatever reason, is good without Austin Matthews. So, you got one more game. It's just simply breaking it down to 60 minutes. What can you do with it? And I think it just seems like they're up for the task based on the last performance. And for once, I'm expecting some consistency from the Toronto Maple Leafs. Maybe that is something people have been sucked into before, but I was really finally impressed by not just the win in game 5, but the way they won. And I think they can channel that again tonight.
I won't lie. It's discouraging. It's unfortunate. You want to see the best players on the planet play at the most important times of the year, and to see that season, 69 goals for Austin Matthews, and for him not to be healthy in the most important time of the season is tough. Again, I think we're going to see some resolve. We're going to see what this team is made of. I think they showed me a lot in game 5, but I would be lying if I told you I wasn't disappointed. And we'll obviously find out at some point in time whether they're eliminated tonight or they go on an epic journey here and then he doesn't play and we find out after the postseason. But I'm just so curious to hear like what's going on behind the scenes. Maybe there's some cameras for all we know.
Yeah, I think we'll find out at the end, what's going on with them. But I think I have a pretty good idea based on what I've seen, and it makes sense. But not to put the cart before the horse or anything, but the stage is kind of set, to do it without Pappy, shows that they have character and that they have grit. To do it against the Boston Bruins, Jack Edwards could be part of the story, to flip the script and finally make, the painful high expectations and then devastating losses, put that on not just another organization, but our rivals who have just bled this team dry in the last decade. The stage is set for something cool to happen, something special. It doesn't always work out the way you want, but there's no doubt that as much as their back was against the wall being down 3-1, there's reason to hope and maybe even believe again. I know how hard we flip-flop in this market, but the stage is set for something special to happen if this group's got it in them. So it's up to them now. But again, I couldn't be more excited for the game.
And again, if you're just joining us late, Austin Matthews will not play here in game 6. I want you to bookmark this conversation when we inevitably have the load management conversation at game 78 next year. And I want you to really think about your answer next year. Because again, we were like, hey, 41 goals for Nylander, 70 goals for Matthews. And here we are without one of the best players on the planet for elimination game 6 against Boston.
And no Willie for the first 3 games,
Dude,
which
like,
they lost 2 of.
Why is this organization just so cursed? I believe in these guys, by the way. I like the way they played in game 5. I think they have it in them. They have enough star power. I think this organization is fortunate enough to not just have one singular superstar. They got Marner. They got Nylander. JT's had his moments, obviously not the same player he was 5 years ago, but I think that's the blessing in all this. They have the talent to get the job done. I mean, just look at Boston. They can use excuses, right? They're losing. They don't have Bergeron. They don't have Krejci. You look at their middle. I mean, you look at their forward core. I mean, they have Pasternak, Marchand, and then everybody else. So I think the Leafs have a blessing here where they have some other guys who can step up and they're paid significant coin for a reason. So again, and this has been a theme of this show, go out there and prove it. Marner, why do you want that money? Nylander, why do they pay you that money? Like it's right there for them. And who knows if Matthews is close, but sometimes you got to dig deep here.
I know. I look back to that the last game there, like how many scrambles did they have in front
Yep.
of the Bruins net where it's just like mind-numbing scrambles where the whistle just won't go and they can see the puck. You can see the puck from the bloody TV and they just can't get a hold of that. And when they do, it hits a shin pad or like that kind of thing. Willie streaks down the right side and just does one of his little short side little flick and just barred down, roasts the goalie who's doing all the right things minus just covering that one little elbow. And he rinses that. He hit the inside of the crossbar with that and it flung out. Like those little things that you could say they're cursed by, they just don't last forever. They didn't with the Chicago Red Sox or with the Chicago Cubs.
Yeah.
And they didn't with the Boston Red Sox. These things come to an end and everyone's waiting for it. So why not now?
Very well said. Let's get into the last call brought to you by Bet365. Open an account with Bet365 today and bet on a huge range of markets. So whatever the sport, whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Piggybacking off that conversation, give me a William Nylander anytime goal. Long time coming, 13 games. March 26th, the last goal. So I'm playing Willie. I'm playing the shot prop over 3.5. I'm playing the Marner shot prop. You just got to bring it. You got to, again, bottle up what you did in game 5, bring it here in game 6. And I'm sorry to say this, but at plus money, I have to play it, Rosie. The Leafs under 2.5 goals, just more so on the data and the statistics. It's been 12 straight games. They've scored 3 or less in 12 straight games. So the numbers tell us that it's going to be a 2-1 hockey game.
Yeah, you take that last one and beat it with it. But
yeah,
I mean, the fact that it'll go to overtimes plus 300. I hit that last time. It was lucrative. I like everything else you said, though. I think the boys are going to be absolutely buzzing. And win or lose, I think they're going to put a ton of pucks on the net. Whether they go in or not, I can't say. I can't say, but I'm guaranteeing they will be throwing a lot at the net.
Dave writes in, I could see Yarncroke scoring tonight. Take a flyer on that. There's got to be a moment where it's a Yarncroke or it's a Nick Robertson or it's both. So we're bleeding blue, folks. Don't forget the Leafs Nation After Dark with Zach Phillips following the game. I'm going to be a guest on there. I'm the scheduled guest. You might see Rosie as well. And Rosie, I'm fired up, man. Let's see what this team has. Again, no Austin Matthews. I think they have it in them to find a way again here.
Mitch Marner, as talented as you are, show us what you got. I hope he has a huge game. I hope he buries, and I hope it comes on a 2-on-1 where he just does one of the old, sells pass to the end of time and then absolutely titties it. And huge Sally, I'll be as happy as anybody. As much criticism as I've had for that guy. This team needs him, and I want him to show up, and I don't even care who scores. I don't care who does anything. I hope it's a team effort just like the last one. Win, lose, or draw. I hope we're proud of the group at the end of this one.
Zach Phillips writes in, why not us? You are exactly right with that question, and I think doubt is seeping into the minds of the Boston Bruins. So, folks, stay positive, stay optimistic. Many thanks to Matt Larkin for dropping on. Again, our apologies with Jake Allen. Tried our best. Just Wi-Fi signal issue with him, so our apologies down the road. Try to get him on back again. Everybody in the chat, you guys are great. Again, stay positive, stay optimistic, Leafs Nation. We got you covered at the Leafs Nation 401. Hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, Leafs Morning Take, wherever you find your podcasts. Make sure to leave us a 5-star review. And don't forget about the LeafsNation.com. You can go over there right now. Check out my latest article on William Nylander needing to step up here for Game 6 against the Boston Bruins. We'll do it again tomorrow, Rosie.
I love it, dude. Big one tonight. All comes down to this for the day. So, yeah, I'll be watching.
Gotta bleed blue. Thank you to producer Vic. Thank you to Jay Rosehill. I'm Nick Alberga. We'll talk on Friday. Take care. Make sure to check out more of our content right here on the Leafs Nation YouTube page. We got long form interviews. We got clips. We got epic rants by Jay Rosehill. We simply have it all. And don't forget, you can find out much more at theleafsnation.com. Thanks so much for watching.